Hello everyone, it's Anna here. Welcome back. So I'm back from my holiday. I took a 2 week break. I did blog for one of the weeks, but then I took the rest of the time off. So I'm delighted to be back with all of you. If this is the first time that you're here, I am doing the Cambridge Weight Plan and I'm sharing what I'm doing every week whilst I'm on it. I want to lose a ton of weight. I'm doing really well, and every week I share my weight loss and my reflections on how I'm getting on, or any learnings or specific things that I think are worth sharing from the process. I am not sharing my actual weight, at least not yet. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Maybe one day when I've lost all the weight that I want to lose, I will be happy to do so, and I will do a big reveal of what my before and after will have been. But for now, I'm just sharing the actual weight loss that I have every week. So without further ado, if for those of you that have been around with me, you will recall that I got weight on a Monday, and then I was going away the following Sunday, so it's actually a full 3 weeks since the last time I got weight. So drum roll. My weight loss in the time that I have been away and that extra week it's been 5.2 kilos, and for those of you that do not work on kilo, that's 11.5 pounds, which is an amazing result. Absolutely amazing. I am so happy with it. I took my Cambridge products with me on holidays. We went away and we stayed with families, so I was able to do that whilst I was away, and it was actually not as difficult as I thought it was going to be. There were a few trigger points, and I will talk about those in a second, but actually it was much easier than I had imagined. It's just more about getting into that routine and continuing what you have, and I have spoken before about the importance of planning and thinking ahead and getting yourself ready. So I had done that for the airport. I had planned my meals so that I would have bars to eat whilst I was in transit, and extra just in case that there was any delays in the plane. I did not want to be sidetracked for any reason. I had planned my meals around being away somewhere warm and having cool things to drink and what I would do, and equally for the return leg, etc. So it worked really well. I think I wish I would have taken more shakes, so I could have done more cold meals. I did take quite a few warm meals as well, and they were nice, but when you're in the heat, actually it's more difficult to get through all the products. I actually struggled to have the fourth one because the heat just naturally suppresses your appetite. So I wasn't feeling as hungry for most of the time. But it was great. I went through my products, it worked really well, and I am back. So as I said, 11 pounds, 11.5 pounds lost in the 3 weeks that I was away. Amazing. I am so happy. 5.2 kilos. That makes a total weight loss today of 23.5 kilos. And that's a total of 52 pounds. And then if we convert that to stones, that's 3.7. So I'm actually 4 pounds away from 4 stone. So I was struggling to get to that 3 stone mark, and all of a sudden that 4 stone is so much closer. In the space of 3 weeks, I am so delighted. So I can't wait to get cracking with that. But last week was week 12 for me, so that is the end of Soul Source, or step 1. So now I am doing 1 week in step 2, which is this week, and then I will go back from next week onwards to do another 12 weeks worth of Soul Source, or step 1. So watch this space. For now, step 2 is typically, for those of you that may or may not know this, in Soul Source, depending on your weight, you have your replace your diet completely with Cambridge products. So depending on your weight, you may have, if you're a female on the BMI of 40, you would have 3 shakes, or if not, then you have 4 shakes. And for gents it would be shakes products, and for gents it would be 4 products. I've been on 4 products all this time, and now in step 2 we're swapping to 3 products and 1 meal. Now the meal typically is, think about something like 180 to 200 calories worth of chicken. That's raw weight, or 200 grams worth of chicken rather than calories, sorry. 200 grams worth of chicken and 80 grams of green vegetables. to make a 200 calorie meal. I'm going to bypass all of that. There is a step-up meal that Cambridge does, of meals that come ready. Rather than in the envelopes, it's in a little pouch, and I should have brought some to show you. And I'm going to have one of those meals instead. So I'm going to still have 4 Cambridge products, but it's going to be 3 of the usual meal replacements that you mix with water and you do other things, and one that is almost like a ready meal. So and it's still already calculated at 200 calories. Both myself and my husband are doing it. We're both doing the same thing. We thought that we could buy the chicken and, the broccoli or prawns or fish or whatever and cook it for a week. But actually, we have a full-on week. We don't have a huge, straight after coming back from holidays, work is crazy. We both have a ton of work to do, long days, so we don't have a huge amount of time for ourselves this week. Also, we were just thinking about buying the food and calculating it so that we're not having to freeze food for ages or have to throw it away. We didn't want to do that either. So we thought actually it's a lot easier. We'll just do those meals and then we'll just fit it. It will be nice to have something different to eat. So we're going to do that for the next week and we'll see how that goes. I am really excited. Since we got the meals yesterday, I can't wait to try the new meals. I had to have my last chicken tikka yesterday, so I am looking forward to a completely different meal tonight, I have to say. So I always share with you a little bit of my reflections, and what I wanted to talk about was trigger points, because if there's something that the holiday has highlighted is that there are many trigger points that we carry with us, things that we would do instinctively, or habits that we have so ingrained that we don't even think about, that make us do something or make us want something because that's what we have always done, or that's what we have been induced to believe that that's something that we should be doing. And the trip really, because it really shook us out from our day-to-day routine, it really helped to highlight many of those trigger points for myself and for my husband. So I just wanted to share what we have, both of us collectively, gone through, so that, if this resonates with you, you can also think about how does that come up, and is there anything that you can do differently. So for me, trigger points that I've had, for us, trigger points that we've had, I guess I've split them into 3 different types. So kind of the whole holiday process, socializing, and quiet moments. So the whole holiday, going on holiday, being away on holiday process, I had things like the airport journey itself. So what do you do when you get to the airport? I don't know about you, but I would get to the airport, and even if I had had a good breakfast at home, I'd be thinking, oh, am I going to get something to eat at the airport or somewhere to go for a drink or something like that? So that's trigger number 1. Number 2 is the plane, and plane food is not the greatest thing, but for some reason we all cling to this because it's exciting and it's something different. At least I do. Hands up, maybe. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that does this. If you don't, if you don't get triggered by it, then, I think it's great. But many people, you just see food in front of you, or for some reason, if it's going freely or if it's being given and you feel like you need to have it, even if it's rubbish food, for some reason you feel, oh, I can't be missing out on this. So that was quite interesting, and stepping away from that. The other thing is just meals that you have whilst on holiday. You get this kind of mode of, because you're on holiday, you can eat anything and everything on the menu without restraint or refrain. And I know that's definitely been the case for me before, because you're on holiday and it's a time that you're away. So why would you miss out on anything? So before you know it, all form of self-control or notion goes out the window, and there you go, you're eating away. The other thing that I have is drinks and snacks. So you probably drink a lot more on holiday, and you probably snack more on holiday because you're away, because you go somewhere for a drink and they'll put a snack in front of you, that sort of thing. So are those trigger points? What are your choices when you do that? I know in the past I haven't been the best, and from this time round, from my initial reaction and what I wanted to order, that was quite interesting. So it did take a couple of seconds to think, actually, no, I want to have something completely different, just some water or a black coffee with ice, something like that. But again, it wasn't something that was a natural reflex to go for the healthier choice that I'm used to even after all this time. Those old habits really creep up on you quite quickly. The other thing for me, and this is not really exclusive for holidays, but I've noticed it a lot on holiday because we were staying with family and there was always food around, and that's picking between meals. So I am a big picker of food. I love picking at food. I love picking food like tapas or like, things that are sharing platters, things like that you just pick at. And the problem with those is that you actually, it's very difficult to keep track of how much you've actually ate. And before you know it, you could have ate a huge amount of food and you've not even felt like you've had a proper meal. So picking between hours or picking food actually can be quite tricky. And I'm really learning the importance of just kind of creating your own portion and making sure that you're clear visually and mentally that you're eating the right things and that what you're eating is sufficient. And then because I was with family again, this is not exclusively for holidays, but it's what is manifested for me, is leftovers. So it goes hand in hand with the picking, but when you have leftover food left from a meal, do you put it away in the fridge? Do you leave it in a plate on the side? If it's there, you're constantly seeing it, and as you go past the kitchen, you're just tempted to just go and pick away at it. So what do you do with that? How do you handle those? How do you get them out of the way so you're not thinking that that's something that you want to do? So those were trigger points that I came across on holiday, and I know that it seems a bit contradictory because I've just said, I found it quite easy, and then I'm giving you all of these trigger points. These trigger points were things that actually didn't last that long. There were a few seconds, probably 5 at the most, but those 5 seconds when they were happening can feel like an eternity because it is a mental battle to make the right choice, to not give in to that normal urge and go for it, and to adjust your behavior and actually rationally think, is this going to help me? Is this really supporting what I want to do? What is this going to do for me? Is this comfort? Is this just because I feel like I should? Am I even hungry? All of those sorts of things that actually take a couple of minutes to rationalize. But meanwhile, your brain can go absolutely crazy on you, throwing you all these images of food you want to have. It's like an addiction kicking in, and it's like, look, all of this food you should be having, and, try to go for it, and you just have to fight it out. But if you kind of count to 10 or something, as people say, or just, for me, I'm fairly logical, so I use logic to rationalize the situation, and I think, okay, what is this doing for me? Is this helping me? This is acknowledge the feeling and what it is that you feel and say, I really want to have something right now, but I don't want to have anything because it's not supporting what I want to achieve. So then you can create that debate in your head, and that really helped me to cope with it. Now, I mentioned another 2 situations on top of being on holidays, which is socializing. I think I may have touched on that before. And quiet moments, but I think it's worth going through those as well. So socializing, how do you socialize normally? Is it going for drinks? Is it going for meals out? And then what do you do whilst you're socializing? Are you expecting to have drinks and snack, drinks and a meal, drinks and dessert? All of the above, starter, main, dessert, everything. What do you feel like doing when you go and you meet people? What are the type of things that you do when you meet people? Is it always food related? So that can definitely be a trigger. And around quiet moments, I actually thought that this was worth mentioning because we don't think about these things. But what I realized during my horse also, because that's when I've had quiet moments, is that we have a tendency to create kind of like these comfort moments for ourselves. We don't call comfort food for nothing. But it's not just about comfort food. There are other moments that we create for ourselves. Like, what do you associate with a quiet time? Is it quiet time reading a book? Is it quiet time reading a book with a glass of wine in your hand? Is it a quiet time reading a book or watching a film with wine or with chocolate or with whatever you may call a treat, whether it's cake, whether it's a biscuit? What are your quiet comfort moments that you feel, I need to have a quiet moment to myself, because if you're associating that peace of mind moment with a snack, then you're already creating that build in your head of, to be at peace and to find my quiet moment, I need to be eating. And that clearly breeds the wrong behaviors, and I've been so guilty of doing that in the past. And for me, it was interesting because one of the things that I do whilst I go and visit family on holidays, there is a moment in the afternoon, not quite afternoon, like early evening, but it's between, I guess, 7 and 8, and it's still, a nice summer night, and it's daylight, and you can sit outside in the garden and just enjoy the moment. And if you're somewhere with grass, you could have sprinklers, there could be watering around, so the heat level starts to come down and everything starts to get refreshed, and the sun is not quite as strong, but you can still be out in the sun. For me, that's like a total pleasure moment of just being out, relaxing, being quiet and enjoying that. And I would normally sit out there with a drink and possibly with snacks. So whether it was a drink and some crisps or nuts or something to nibble at, something like that. And I didn't need any of that. So I would sit there. Sometimes I would have my shakes. Sometimes I would just have a glass of water, and I wouldn't need any of that to actually help me throughout the whole process. And it didn't take away from the feeling of peace, from how special that kind of early evening quiet moment was, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So for me, it was the realization that actually, you need to think about what those trigger points are. Don't avoid them, acknowledge them, understand what it is, why it is that you want to do that. Is it because it's habit? Is it because you really need it? Is it something different? Understand what purpose are they serving, because is it that you're looking for quiet time, and in which case what can you do that is different to give you quiet time? Is it because you're looking for stress relief, and then what is there any other alternatives that will help you get stress relief? So understand what it is, what purpose is serving, then see if you can replace that with something else that does not involve food. And the second you do that, so two things happen. You get that fix, and then you think, actually, yes, I can still have that quiet moment, which is great. But the second is, possibly three. So you're starting to reframe your mind and how you think about, and you associate what that quiet moment, that treat, that relax, whatever it is that you need is. And also you get this sense of empowerment of, actually, yes, I can do this, and I can control my food myself, and I'm not food dependent, and I don't need to have food to do that. And when you beat that urge and you can do it, okay, you may have a few moments of feeling a major moment of strop because you're so used to going to that is the natural reaction. But once you overcome that and you go past those 5-10 seconds that it may take you to get over it, okay, worst case scenario, a whole minute of suffering, think about 1 minute, what actually that would be for you, and what the alternative would be if you ate the food. Because you may get a second fix of thinking that you feel okay, but then after you feel like you have blown the plan, you probably feel like you want to have another drink or another treat, or I've already messed up, therefore why continue, I'll carry on with something else. But when you manage to hold back, you're taking care of yourself, you're respecting yourself, you're sticking to your plan and to your goals, and that does come with a feeling of personal pride. And I hadn't appreciated how much until I've gone through it. And I guess during holidays, I've come across so many of those trigger situations that I would normally have in one go, condensed within 2 weeks, that it's become even more apparent for me. So that's why I wanted to share with you trigger points and how you think about them and how can you overcome them. If you have any other techniques that you use yourself to do so, if you have any other trigger points, I would love to hear about it. Please share or leave any comments that you want. I'll let you know how I'm getting on with step 2 next week. I am delighted to be back. I look forward to hearing from all of you, and I'll keep you updated of how I'm getting on. All the best and talk to you soon. Bye.